Maybe they weren't as dumb.
But they were all from Seattle.
No,
That tends to be a common one.
The last girl.
Anyone go with the final, the bill? The
Yes.
bill?
$13.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't go with that. Maybe that's specific.
No, you didn't have to be. It's just whatever, someone felt like putting down.
$13 for like 12 drinks. I guess it wasn't the 40s.
Yeah, can we get like can we get how much like a buck was worth in our day's currency?
Probably like 5.
Do the math in my head. Do the inflation and.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know. Inevitably, any kind of conversation with the book usually at least centers around Holden for the most part. So, and again, we're going to talk about this today and tomorrow. So stuff that we leave off with today, we can certainly pick up with tomorrow. But I have a feeling today's going to be a little bit of a reaction to what we think of Holden. Keep in mind a couple things. You don't have to, in order to like the book, you don't have to like Holden. You can like the book and go, I can't stand Holden. Here's all the things wrong with him. You can dislike the book and like Holden. You can dislike the book and dislike Holden. You can like the book and like Holden. So all those things are certainly optional. So just with, and again, and the point is not to try to convince you to like him or the book or anything like that, but the repetition of stuff. Why does he do that? That might be some of the things that we kind of get into. His mindset. What is he eccentric and off and crazy and nuts? Is he typical, 16, 17-year-old? Those are kinds of things that we can kind of start to get into. So reactions to him as a character, to him as a person, what are some of the initial things that tend to come up?
He's very sensitive.
I guess like that kills me. Sensitive can mean a whole host of things too.
Like he can't handle anything that's minorly wrong with his life.
You got punched in the face like twice over the course of 12 hours.
Yeah, but
I guess he was a jerk.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
Well, he takes these weird things that like mean a lot, but then like he gets punched in the face, he's like, it's fine.
So when you're saying sensitive, not in the he's so sensitive,
No.
he like understands.
No,
it,
like
but,
annoying, like stop being a baby about everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and me and Sam are gonna punch you randomly within the course of 12
No, I'm not
hours.
talking about punching.
I'm
I'm
gonna-
talking about everything else.
I'm gonna steal some of your money.
Like takes things to heart more than he should.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's quote unquote not tough enough.
What'd you say?
Like not tough enough.
No, I think he's tough enough. He's just like he acts like a child.
I think he's
Okay.
talking about the wrong things.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I just want to go punch in the face, but like you make fun of my suitcases, it's over.
You could tell.
Hey,
Yeah.
those Gladstones are nice suitcases.
What are Gladstones?
A brand of suitcase.
Okay.
It'd be like saying he was carrying
They're like
Sam's
doctor
knife.
briefcases. They're like doctor briefcases. When they come.
It's very depressed.
So with and this could certainly kind of play off with the whole sensitive. He can be on an emotional roller coaster. In the sense that he could be happy, he could be sad, he could be both at the same time. You're basically going. He's dealing with like. Would you say he is depressed? Dealing with depression?
He keeps saying he's like, I'm feeling really depressed right now.
Okay. Maria, you're going yes, depressed.
Yes.
Like clinically depressed.
I just think that he just like doesn't know what depression is.
He also doesn't do super well with like not lying.
Are you kidding me?
He's a compulsive.
With
I
not.
thought he's a compulsive liar.
Oh, they say he's not a good liar. I was like, I thought he was an incredible liar.
No.
Well, he claims.
It could be like 6 different people over the course of 2 chapters.
And it was believable.
And I think the issue with all that is losing his brother. Because like you losing his brother has some therapy. Yeah, and a lot of like underlying issues that he's not addressing because he's like.
Was it Cade or Ben who said suicidal? Cade. And I don't want to put words in your mouth. You said like he is suicidal, or at least.
I mean, I said that he thinks about suicide.
Okay. So at the very least, there's a lot of. Apparently, like we can't write anything. Shows up on my board. I wrote violence. Comes up quite a bit with it in the sense of might be mentioning possibility of his own death, and we'll get into examples. Could be other, like just punching out the windows following brother's death could be example of violence that would be taking place. So certainly violence does tend to come up more time. Otherwise, we might be writing on a whiteboard. That would be like
He's also really judgy.
Crazy. Like judgmental.
Like in his hotel, he's just like watching everybody and he's like, you suck, and then you suck, and then you suck.
Well,
I think he was making that up. I'm not gonna lie. I think he was definitely making that up.
I got
What,
that.
the man and the woman?
Never know, because he's
No,
lying.
I think he was making the fact up that he was like, oh, I got in my hotel and I saw a guy dress up in women's like lingerie and like a couple spit water into each other's mouths. Like he's definitely making that up. Like there's no way that's true. And like I don't believe him with everything.
What's his complaint when he first walks into the hotel? And same thing when he goes in the lavender room so far as the clientele that's at the hotel.
Everyone's real crummy.
No one's cool.
Everyone's crummy, or you get a whole bunch of perverts at this place. And then what does he end up doing? Everyone's perverted. He's watching through the windows to see like whatever what's going on with everybody.
He checks frequently too. He's like,
Yeah.
There's
They close their blinds, the blinds, so they can go to bed.
So there's a lot of lying that's kind of going on so far as sometimes his name is actually Holden. I don't know if anyone put this down. Do you remember his name when he's with the girls from Seattle, Lavender
It's
Room?
like Jim Steele.
Jim
Yeah,
Steele.
yeah.
He's very suave.
Yeah, he's
Very
always saying
debonair.
he's suave as hell. I'm like, what?
Suave. And
When he's with Mrs. Morrow, Ernest's,
Oh, he's the janitor.
Oh yeah.
he's
Oh no.
Rudolph Schmidt.
That was funny.
he looks like a in my head, at least.
What does he look like to you?
My favorite line I think in the book is Ernest Morrow. That guy's as sensitive as a toilet seat. That one makes me laugh every time. I don't know why.
What is that? I don't know what
He's gonna get on
Arts
campus.
is-
Lauren?
Arts is like rigid and hard.
Yeah, like you could take air too much and just tell him to calm down.
He does.
Yeah, that's
He
what I
is
meant by
angry.
yeah. He's just like overly sensitive to everything.
I feel like he's just angsty instead of. I feel like he's.
I think there's a lot that a lot of people can relate to him inside of the book.
That's probably
Like
why.
a characteristic of it.
Which I'm not laughing at because I think you're right. But you think of all the stuff we just put. This guy is like overly
Sam
sensitive. He
relates.
complains about everything. He lies all the time. Totally judgmental. This kid's nuts. I think he's really relatable. Yes, right here.
Yes.
Vulgarity.
Oh.
It actually just bubble like
Is Sam the only one so far as relatability,
I
or?
thought he was so relatable. I bought the book this weekend. You really? Yeah.
And to say, because that's a term that, ooh, he's relatable. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that Maria's or Sam is the same exact person as Holden Coffin. And it's another also trying to keep in mind with Holden. When does the book start? So far as what day is it?
His last day.
Oh, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday.
Is it Friday?
Oh no, it's Saturday.
It's game day.
It's Saturday. It's game day. Football. Okay. What day is it when you left off in chapter 16?
Sunday.
It's Sunday. Okay, so it's been one day. It's been roughly 24 hours. He's going to have really. It's still more in the morning. He hasn't met Sally yet for his date. Met the nuns, had breakfast, bought his record, and all that kind of stuff. So we're looking at a person from Saturday afternoon, before dinner time, before the hockey puck steaks get given out to everyone. But you're probably looking around like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and now Sunday kind of coming up on noon. So you're looking at someone with less than 24 hours. And if we were to take, let's pick 24 hours from Anna's life, when we can try to make her look as, most horrific as possible, we might not like the way we come off within a certain time. As mentioned before class, it'd be interesting to take a look at what you think about them based on what you read or what the dialogue was as opposed to going every single thought. If you met Holden, okay, so you don't know what's going on in his mind, but he's just talking to you, I think most people would go, this guy's
Delightful.
pretty nice. Seems sincere. Really seems like he cares about me. Who knows if he'll be telling you that his name's Holden or Rudolph or Jim or coming up with some other kind of thing. But I think if you were to simply just talk to him without knowing everything that's going on, he would come off as a regular, pretty typical 16-year-old. Now, certainly the context of everything that's happening in his life, we know more, we know how he's thinking, and all of that kind of stuff. For the record, he only says GD 244 times, so there is a little bit of swearing going on there. What other words does he use?
Cursing.
With no T.
Sorry, I didn't mean it. Cursing.
That's
That killed me.
He says like Christ's sake.
The one guy says.
What's
son
his
of
big
a-
complaint about people? They are
Crummy.
morons. And I'm thinking, and he does use that one 21 times. I'm thinking about another one too with people in general. Morons, I think he tends to say for like folks that he really knows. Although like Maurice is a moron. Don't call the pimple moron because he's gonna get beat up. But what's his P word? What's his big complaint about
Phonies.
people in general? That we got a whole bunch of phonies. So his argument, not his argument, but one of his criticism is there's a whole bunch of phonies everywhere. I think, Ben, you said hypocritical, like before we started kind of talking about it, and a complaint that folks would have, well, isn't he phony for all the hypocritical things that he says and does and all that kind of stuff, which could turn into a whole argument in itself. Yeah, and a lot of those things I would say, is kind of like a 1950s slang type thing. If you were to watch TV shows from the 50s, little kids, you would have that, boy, gee, golly, willikers, kind of over the top, that's crazy kind of stuff where that would get said.
He just seems to really hate shallow people and shallow teenagers. And he seems to feel like he's just so tired of people BSing their way through life.
Doesn't he say something he doesn't like small talk? Or am I making
All he
that
does
up?
in his book is just small talk.
He doesn't like, well, here, hold on, so that I don't forget. So, not saying that we're defining what a phony is, but you said shallow.
Fake.
They don't really care about anything.
Okay. So, shallow,
Maybe
fake,
narcissistic.
kind of like apathetic, in the sense that they don't care about anything. And then, Kate, you just said,
Didn't he say he hates small talk?
he doesn't like anything where, kind of playing along with this, if you're doing small talk, hey, how are you? I'm grand. Terrific. That's great. His argument would be, what's the whole point of that? Like when you say, how are you, do you really want to know how people are?
No.
And it varies.
Like 10%.
Of the time that you do care,
Yeah.
90% you don't care. So if it's going down that, hey, how are you? Oh, let me tell you. Well, I got places to go. We'll talk about it later. Some people would kind of go off. Now, based on person that you're speaking to, circumstances that are going on, you might really want to know everything that's kind of happening with it. So, like polite speech for the sake of I'm supposed to do polite speech, he doesn't really care for. At least he says that. But if he's talking to Ernest Morrow's mother, on the train, what is he doing the whole time? It's total small talk. In some ways, probably to see how far he can get, away with it, so far as trying to trick her or making her think that he likes her son and all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of where that phony, hypocritical thing kind of would come from.
Didn't he say something about how her son was supposed to be the president, but he was too humble?
Yeah.
And then he goes, humble my bleep bleep bleep. That kid's as sensitive as a toilet seat, and then I start laughing again.
He's so judgmental that he can't let me be friends.
It's like his hand goes up and your voice starts.
Yeah.
What's the point of telling a complete stranger you're a completely different person and seeing how far you can get away with it? Because
Like a
if
challenge?
Oh, I could see like
Me do.
9th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders doing that all the time.
I do.
Whenever I go to the hairdresser, I always make up fake stories.
it just
I mean, I'm not saying that's going to be your primary mode of entertainment, but yeah, I could definitely see people doing that.
like how far you can get away
Yeah.
with it. It's just like
Part of the ironic thing is, going up here where
Same thing.
Anna was talking about him being childish, and a common complaint, or even not complaint, observation about him is he's immature. Which, yeah, I have no problems, acknowledging that.
You're 16.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure I'll be a totally different person in 10 or 20 years.
Most likely. But a complaint that people have is he's so immature, but he wants to act so old. Look at my gray hairs. I'm very tall. You want a cocktail? Why can't you serve me? Why do I have to get a Coke? I always get served at this place. I'm smoking all the time. And part of that, too, with the smoking is going to be an era thing, 1949, which when this would be taking place, it wouldn't be considered, totally taboo to have a 16, 17-year-old smoking.
He's always saying that he's smoking, like he's out of breath because he smokes, but he
caring that he's out of breath with it.
Well, like he doesn't care. Like he's smoking and he's like, wow, like I'm really out of breath. Like I'm gonna go smoke another cigarette. Like he doesn't
The
really
deep
care.
breathing technique.
The not to say the connection between the two would not be there, but it is so socially acceptable that if, all right, I'm out of breath, oh well, unless you're Stradlater, who does not like smoking, why would he not like smoking based on what he does? He plays basketball, wrestle, so for him that would be a bigger deal than it would be for Holden losing all the foils and fencing equipment on the subway. That's when it stinks that you're out of breath, when you realize you left all the equipment there.
What is the thing he said right when he left his school? Like in the middle of the night, he like
Sleep tight, you morons.
Yeah.
Sleep tight, you morons.
That's why they're not friends.
Did anybody even like know him though? Like I kind of feel like he thinks like everybody knows who he is, but like no one really cares.
I got that vibe too.
I kinda
Yeah,
love
like
the
he
small
thinks he's
school.
like the crap, and everybody's like okay.
No one cares.
Yeah, no one likes you.
It's like
I would
someone-
say he's not completely alienated. Because Stradlater,
is popular.
Stradlater tends to be pretty popular. Stradlater, asks him, can you write the composition for me? Complains when it's Allie's baseball glove. But Stradlater doesn't seem to mind when he's around. Unless when he starts, talking to him and all that kind of stuff.
Just like talking. He's
Well,
allowed to be a jerk,
like
just don't
putting
talk.
him in a half Nelson when he's trying to shave and whatnot. Ackley seems, from Holden's standpoint, Ackley's really annoying, but Ackley still talks to him.
Ackley have acne.
Yeah.
Since he has pimples like all over the place.
Doesn't brush his teeth.
He goes to the movies with Mel, Broussard. He doesn't have a hard time finding anyone to hang out with. But it seems like no matter who he hangs out with, it's not good enough for him. So I would not consider him someone who would be sitting in class all by himself or at a cafeteria table all by himself. He'll always be with people. He can be with people, but there's not going to be probably much of an authentic connection between him and other folks. So far as how he thinks he would be viewed, we don't really quite know yet.
I don't know. Maybe it was just me, but I got the vibe that he was like, he said what in the beginning, he's like 6'2", right? He's like a big kid.
Yeah, he's tall for his.
He's a tall kid, but I get the vibe that he's like that short, annoying little brother that you have that kind of just hangs around and just like he's like, I'm trying to like do something, and he's just like, come on, let's go like
There's
do
never,
something.
there's never going to be the line of, well, I'm rather tall for my age with a lot of gray hair. Dude, you're 5'4", you have a bald head. Like that kind of contradiction never really kind of comes
I feel
up.
like he's like lying about how tall he is. Though.
Well, and with the truth, and this is the part that gets to be very difficult, because the stream of conscience narrator, at the same time you could be going, is he a reliable narrator? Do you believe everything that's going on in his head? If you don't believe everything's going on in his head, then what in the world's going on in his head? So far as he lying to himself about certain things. Where is he? That's where his story is, because this is a flashback. Where is he as he is telling his story?
Wait, it's
With
a
his
Like a
sister.
mental institution or something?
With his sister.
Clinic?
Wait, I didn't even know he was wait.
Page 1.
That's what he's talking in past tense.
Page 1. There's 2 1s. Chapter 1 and page 1. Look at that. If you really want to hear about, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born and what my lousy childhood was like and how my parents were occupied and all before they had me and all that David Copperfield kind of crap. Allusion to Charles Dickens. But I don't feel like going into it if you want to know the truth. In the first place, that stuff bores me, and in the second place, my parents would have about 2 hemorrhages apiece if I told anything pretty personal about them. They're quite touchy about anything like that, especially my father. They're nice and all, I'm not saying that, but they're also touchy as hell. Besides, I'm not going to tell you my whole GD autobiography or anything. I'll just tell you about this madman stuff that happened to me around last Christmas, just before I got pretty run down and had to come out here and take it easy. That's all I told DB about, and he's my brother and all. He's in Hollywood, that isn't too far from this crummy place, and he comes over and visits me practically every weekend.
He's in California.
Well, he's not in New York, at least. So it would seem that, he's more kind of closer to West Coast, westward. He's with the Jodes. They're all hanging out in Wheat Patch or something like that.
Oh yeah, this is like like 10 years now.
Wait. So what is he? Is he not mental institute?
We-
Is that a theory right now?
You're not 100% sure. So far as his location, at the very least, Sam, there would be some kind of institution that he's at. I'm not going to say that he's in an asylum or anything.
He's in a different.
Keywords that he throws around, he does say madman stuff. Now, at the same time, he does tend to exaggerate, so how serious is that? We don't know. DB comes and visits him. DB we know is in Hollywood. He says it's not too far. So, there's visitations that take place.
He's in a prison.
Here's page 9.
I think
He's
that
deaf.
makes sense
He's deaf.
because
Page 9, like that first full paragraph, where he mentions it, boy, I said. I also say boy quite a lot, partly because I have a lousy vocabulary, and partly because I act quite young for my age sometimes. I was 16 then, I'm 17 now, and sometimes I act like I'm about 13. It's very ironical because I'm about 6'2" and all that stuff. So when he's in the story, 16, when he's telling it, 17, and then he also makes reference to getting TB with tuberculosis. So is part of it mental, is part of it physical, almost like a sanatorium to kind of get to, and you can kind of picture him out, hanging out in the Rocky Mountains, getting that fresh air. But there would be some kind of institution that could be dealing with some mental or also possibly some physical ailments that could be going along with it.
There's a page where he talks about whenever his brother died, he locked himself in the garage and like broke all the windows and like did all the stuff. And his parents almost threw him.
Okay. So now we kind of get to this whole, well, why would he be at a place such as this? Or why would his life in some ways be spiraling out of control? It seems that the beginning of the end, so to speak, for him is probably going to involve his brother, Allie. So we take a look at the family. We have, who is all within this family? Like siblings, at least.
Phoebe,
We got Phoebe.
DB,
What's DB stand?
We don't know.
Cooper.
The guy who stole all the money out.
Not to be confused with, is it DW and Arthur?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just figure it out, and
Yeah. That's correct.
that's it. The mom and the dad, and then Allie's dead.
I thought that Al was older than Phoebe.
Ali is older.
Well, now
Is older than Phoebe, yes. So with the context of the story, like when it is taking place, Holden is 16 years old. We know he's 17. How old's Phoebe?
10.
Phoebe is 10.
Ali would be like what, 13?
When Allie died, Allie is
11.
13?
9.
14, 18.
Oh no, she's
62?
in 5th grade.
He.
Ali's a dude.
Oh wait, never mind.
Oh, well,
Plot
that's
twist.
He did that then. That's I didn't know that.
No, I knew Allie was a fool.
What's the age difference between Allie and Holden? Well, because when Allie dies in 1946, he is 11. When Allie dies in 1946, Holden is
So you got 1 year.
13. So there's really only a 2-year difference between the two. He mentions dies from leukemia 3 years ago. He was 11, so that puts us the year 1949 when this would be taking place. So 3 years ago, Holden would have been 13 years old, only a 2-year difference. If Allie were still alive, he would have been 14 years old. So yeah, Phoebe would be the youngest no matter what. DB, we don't get an exact age for. It's 1949. We know a couple things about him. We know that he's, in Hollywood. When he says prostituting himself, he's not Sonny. He's not a prostitute, but he's selling his talent. He thinks he's a fantastic writer, but he ends up doing more screenplays and stuff like that with Hollywood. It's not quote unquote like legitimate writing. We find out that DB is in World War II. So he's old enough that at least, like in 1946, he would have been, 18, 19, 20 years old. So he's probably somewhere in that maybe 23 to 25 kind of range. But we don't have like an exact age that's going on for him. Phoebe, we haven't met. You do meet Phoebe, so she will come up in second half of the book. That's going to be a big focal point for him. But what seems to kind of be the beginning of the end for Holden is the death of Allie when he passes away. There's the punching out of the windows. You know, when he's in the garage. Well, even like when Cade was kind of mentioning about like at least violent thoughts, tendencies that take place. What do we know about? We have the windows in the garage. What other examples of violence, like anywhere that take place?
Well, he tried attacking his roommate.
Okay. So, and I'm not going to consider the half Nelson one in the bathroom, but after he comes home, yeah. And really, why does he get in a fight with Stradlater? Partially because of girl. Because he has a couple things going. He's upset about Jane with the fact that he would have gone out with it, and then also, why'd you do this stupid composition about this crummy glove? Well, you're talking about Allie's glove. Allie's very important to me. So Stradlater's basically insulting two of his closest allies with Jane and Allie. So he's really kind of taking that pretty personally. What else do we have?
Just regular things like already like kind of just he's getting kicked out of school.
I want to go violent though with that.
Well, because he got kicked out because he was failing.
Well, who else does he get in a fight with?
Still be mad. Al, whatever his name is.
A little bit with him. We'll talk about Maurice tomorrow.
Oh, big boy Maurice.
Because there's physical fight, but then there's also, mentally he kind of starts picturing some stuff happening with it as well. We'll get into that stuff. Your only homework assignment is you're just finishing the book at this point for Tuesday of next week. But everything we talk about tomorrow, we're ending with chapter 16. We're not going to get into anything with chapter 17, 18 until we're all there.
What's the picture for next Tuesday?
You're finishing the book for next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow.
I'm gonna try to send my name